There was no point of comparison, so I had no way to know. But back then, I was happiest. I waited for the servers to go live, unknowingly about to conquer the isolation that ruled my life. The excitement was unbridled. The ability to experience an MMO on launch matched with my increasing urge to make friends, and my increasing fear of doing just that. But in the safety of my own home, with a screen as my shield and a universe to explore, I felt a palpable confidence. I had done this to an extent with other games before, but this one, I swore would be where I made friendships that lasted forever. I stared in the dark as my PS3 loaded the Magic title for the first time. Here, I could be something else, something new. And it was here that I made my Exo Warlock, and ignorantly began down a path of friends made, and friends lost. A story 10 years in the making. The last of summer's heat evaporated and translated to the hue of the leaves, half green, half yellow, rustling in the crisp final weeks that lagged behind the equinox. I walked carefree under the trees, a sealed product in hand, none the wiser to how significant the next few steps I made would be and how considerably important they would be to changing my path. There was no indication in how greatly the next choices I made would dictate my fate, and I had not the faintest idea that a video game could be the catalyst for such intense reverie, metamorphosis, and ultimately, melancholy. 521 weeks, 3,650 days, 87,600 hours, 5,256,000 minutes, 315,360,000 seconds, 10 years. It's increasingly odd how heavy the time gets the more of it passes, how every minute piles up, every individual second, and how we have to drag it around everywhere we go. But the seconds, the minutes, the little moments, they wouldn't be so difficult to carry if they didn't have anything weighing them down, if they didn't have substance to define them. Memories, massive accomplishments, small achievements, inside jokes, genuine friendships made, and genuine friendships lost. The usernames that say last logged in 5 years ago beneath them, and the names that you won't ever see again. The things that make those 315,360,000 seconds so heavy. The things that give each one of them weight. For one last time, I'll ask you this. Do you remember? Staying up through nights that bled into mornings, waiting for the drops at the end of a Crucible match or grinding strikes with your friends? Do you remember doing Vault of Glass for the first time, or naively entering that strange new PvP mode called Trials of Osiris? Do you remember all the friends that you had on PSN or Xbox Live? Do you remember how you'd sit in orbit to the tune of those melodic, ambient, spacey songs, waiting for those people from all across the globe that you had met to log on? Do you remember the last time that you saw them before they logged off for the final time? In 2019, I made an admittedly poor quality video where I tried my best to convey that feeling. It was a video fittingly named Making Memories, where I told my story with Destiny 1, how and why I quit, and my experience of returning to Destiny and Shadowkeep. I talked extensively about how lonely I was and how I made new friends through the game and subsequently defeated that loneliness, but the video ends with a bittersweet prophecy, one that I knew would ultimately come true, but I didn't know exactly how. I stated that I knew one day there'd be a last logged in many years ago under every one of these new friends' usernames. But in that moment, in that one single moment in 2019, in my own words I said, that day didn't matter, for today is what matters. And I was right, that day is what matters, yet here I am with an aching neck from looking back so much, wondering if perhaps it's yesterday that matters more now, and perhaps all those days are as heavy as they are, for the memories that define them are not just my own. 315,360,000 seconds, 5,256,000 minutes, 87,600 hours, 3,650 days, 521 weeks, 10 years. Shared between a massive friend group that scattered, disappeared, changed, and grew up. All the friends I had made, all the connections that were created, the fire teams I'd fight alongside with, all the 100 members of my clan that haven't logged on in years. It hits like a train that the prophecy came true the way that it did. So now I sit alone in the tower once again like I had years ago, with no company by my side except the crickets, the humid sunset, the trails left behind by distant ships, and the beeping lights of the last city, all alone. But I wasn't always like this. There was once saturation in the color, a pleasant scent to the breeze, an odd echo to our shared laughter, and a thrill to experience life knowing that an escape like destiny existed, knowing I could run here if I needed it. I don't want this to be one-sided. You can do all you want from here on out. Share with me your own memories, your own stories. Share with me, as I will with you, the stories that we both have, big and small, from this meticulous memory-making machine that we fittingly call destiny. And one last time, I will ask you to take my hand and allow us to walk together down memory lane as I recount to you my chronological tale throughout the last decade, from every big achievement to every funny little story, the friends that I made and the friends that I lost. This is my story. This is 10 years of destiny.
Get on the back of this girl. One of you guys have to get off.
Cozy, wait.
I am waiting. Oh, I made it! Who's here?
Hello?
Hey, what's going on?
Is this cruise ship?
No, it's cruise.
Oh, nice jump.
Thanks.
What? Oh, her goblin?
It's not that.
Oh!
Why are you picking the girl?
Look what we have. Oh, someone else is dancing with me! I am Marcelo.
Oh my god.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna interrupt though.
Okay.
I have Trinity Ghoul, by the way.
Dude, the traitor. Let me think.
Tanner Brother! Tanner Brother! Tanner Brother!
My grandmother was from, Earth.
Hash
So,
Ladet.
she was from Earth. Yeah, I mean, partner. Saying about you out there.
Yeah, dude.
A lot of things about.
Yeah, dude, what the hell happened to his health?
Alright.
Yeah, you wanna know what happened to it? That's wrong! That's
Stop! You see flapping, yo. I might start using the Trinity Ghoul.
Quick, up footsteps!
So easily if you do. Yo, Noctis!
My mom died 2 years ago last week, her and I went to
Still spinning. I'm not gonna stop. Oh! I have Trinity Ghoul.
Oh, yeah.
Bro, Trinity Ghoul!
Let me do it. How about for the GameCube is fun? And I hate to know that one day, beneath cruise ship 11, I'll see a last logged on 2 years ago. But that day is not today. And today is what matters. Right?
Ready for a bombshell? I've played Destiny since the beta. Thank you in advance for the medal. Thank you. Thank you. However, I didn't actually have access to the beta. So how did I do it? Well, a family friend, Antonio, had it on his Xbox 360. So out of curiosity, I went over to his place and gave it a whirl. I hogged the controller while he spectated, got bored, and fell asleep. All while I explored the Cosmodrome and vanquished Sepix time and time again on my Exo Warlock. And while that was the last time I spent a night at Antonio's apartment, I literally started this game sat beside a friend. It was etched in stone from the very beginning that I would go on this grand adventure side by side with comrades. One problem. I was the very quiet, weird kid at school, and nobody talked to me because I was awkward and had no self-awareness. I did have an autism diagnosis though. Spoiler alert, but I played RuneScape and World of Warcraft at the time because I was cool. But as fate would have it, I made a decision in the autumn of 2014. My best and only friend at the time, Bailey, who always played WoW with me, followed shortly after. The two of us hopped ship together and quit the granddaddy of MMOs in favor of what looked to be the perfect successor, Destiny. Now, we know I was weird, I was quiet, but I don't think we get the whole picture. I love reading, and I love fantasy. I was reading The Hobbit or Lord of the Rings at the time the game came out, and I was obsessed with space, so much so that I made a book report in middle school on an astrophysics textbook. It's not because I'm smart, it's because I thought it would be funny, and it was. To me. So seeing a game that took fantasy and astronomy and blended them so seamlessly together into an MMO RPG, my favorite genres all colliding, this was literally made for me. I am the target demographic. When the game launched, you best believe I yoinked a copy for my PlayStation 3 since I'm bougie and swag, and stayed up for 2 nights straight, 50 hours, dedicated, no sleep, Skype call on my laptop, sat on a chair beside me while I blasted away at Vex and Fallen, chatting the hours away with Bailey. I remember doing the first Nightfall and defeating Phallus Tark 2 times because I'm sick like that. I remember getting my first purple engram, slowly walking towards Master Raoul like I owned the place, only for him to give me a blue. The evil man. I remember so many little moments shared with Bailey that made this game so fun, and put against the backdrop of watercolor skies and a twinkly ambient soundtrack, it felt dreamlike and comfortable. It was the perfect game for me. Bailey and I eventually made a new friend, which was scary considering this was the second time in my life I had ever done that. His name's Reed, and he also really liked Destiny. Reed and I started to duo most of what the game had to offer, to conquer everything with stride. Kinda. If your definition of stride is with difficulty, then yeah, we did that. When Vault of Glass came out, we delved into the depths and conquered Atheon, only for Reed to smash his controller over not getting the Timebreaker Sparrow, while the 4 other people we were in a group with relentlessly made fun of him for it. Reed called them Vault of Glassers and stood still, unable to leave. Since his controller was broken when the Dark Below launched, Reed got a new controller, promised to be better to it, and we created an ongoing joke displayed in this here recovered relic, where Reed would insist we wear all blue gear and attempt to slay the Hive Prince Crota. Let's solo Crota! We just tried 8 times. Let's do it again! It was maddening, but we did it every single week regardless, right alongside the weekly Nightfall and eventually the Prison of Elders. Our favorite activity in Destiny 1. I started to add the people we would play with on PSN and re-invite them for Prison of Elders every week. And while I don't remember their names, and there weren't very many of them, I do remember each of these characters quite vividly. There was a guy who would sit at the tower just to listen to the music with me and show me glitches in the Vestian outpost. A warlock who had every achievement in the game who would always be down to help with Prison of Elders. A hunter who loved music festivals and had a very bad memory. I wonder if those two are connected, who would always suggest I give Hunter a try. The list goes on and on. While we were never too close, they were still friends, and it was always fun for Rita and I to fight alongside them. I always had Vestian Dynasty equipped. I was humbled anytime I attempted Trials of Osiris, and our all blue Crota attempts were going about as well as you'd think. But on the contrary, Rita and I had made a creative plot on a Minecraft server, which was a protected piece of land only him and me could build on, and it was dedicated entirely to Destiny. I built the entire tower, all of its details and intricacies, all of the NPCs, and even signs with their bits of dialogue. And Reed built little chibi pixel arts of different Destiny symbols, logos, or characters, including the devil.
It's Master Rahul, the evil man.
It's safe to say that I have enough anecdotes and stories to fill an entire series of videos, let alone just one. And while I would love to ramble on and on about the magic of vanilla Destiny 1 and its first 2 expansions, the real magic, and I mean this completely wholeheartedly, unironically, and completely seriously, was the friends that I made along the way. As seen in the Minecraft plot, Destiny started to seep its way into every single part of my life. I made a friend in school because of Destiny. This was an unheard of accomplishment for me. His name's James, and he's sort of like the combination of Adult Swim and Albert Hoffman. Towards the end of House of Wolves, I went to James's house and he showed me his characters, how many exotics he had, his ships and sparrows, his full BIS gear, and his faction reputation ranks, some of which were in the 3 digits. James played the game. It was his world and I was queuing into it from time to time. That was all. I made it my goal to be like James, looking at all that he's accomplished. Around the time of my newfounded promise to myself to be as sweaty and addicted as possible to Destiny 1, Bailey drifted away, disappeared, and got rid of Skype. There wasn't any argument or any bad blood, we just moved apart. I haven't talked to him since early 2015, and while it saddened me a bit to see him go, it was alright. I had James and I had Reed, and we all loved Destiny. Amongst our weekly Prison of Elders runs and Crota Zen shenanigans, there came the announcement that would change everything. Sunlight trickling in through the windows of the school hallway. The bell rang. I opened my locker, and James ran down the hallway. Teachers and nuns screaming at him to stop, but that only ever made him go faster, the mischievous lad he was. Big grin on his face, until he grabbed my shoulders and breathlessly told me as the dust sparkled in the sunlight, "Dude, Destiny's new expansion, I'm being copiously candid with you when I say it looks so gnarly." And with James' seal of approval, how could it not be? When Taken King came out, my love for the game skyrocketed. I still remember staying home quote-unquote sick when the April update came out and grinding away to get the Taken armor and to fight Malak. I loved most of all the Sunless Cell Strike, and amongst everything that was added, there was a helmet that I sought after unlike any other, the Stag. I mean, look at this thing. Sure, by today's standard, it's a helmet, but back then, dude, this was the helmet. I didn't even care what the exotic did. I only wanted it because of how it looked, and since I was in my ultra try-hard mode, do what James would do type of grind set, I obtained it in no time. I remember so vividly the night it dropped from an exotic engram, redeeming the evil man. At 3 a.m. on a Thursday, I screamed on the top of my lungs for no reason whatsoever, "Charizard!" out of unbridled enthusiasm that overtook any wit or reason. I even tried to make a cosplay of my warlock that following Halloween, and I know, it's cringe, it's embarrassing, but damn, is it not charming and a bit disturbing? But as time would have it, I soon learned what those memes meant when they said,
"Yeah, dude, I'll be on tomorrow."
"Alright, King Man, have a good night, yo."
Thanks, dude.
Last logged in 5 years ago. The few friends that we had made on PSN started to disappear as the months rolled by due to burnout or personal problems, and even James took a step back. This was the best the game had been at, but everyone I knew was leaving. Rise of Iron was announced, and it was said it was going to be a PS4 and Xbox One exclusive, so us on the PS3 would have to either upgrade or be stuck in a liminal space between states of being. I tried to funnel all my time and commitment into Destiny in the final months of Taken King, making a hunter, raiding, Challenge of the Elders, you name it, but eventually there came the final day. We shot our last dreg, encrypted our last engram, and the day went about like any other. We had no idea it would be the last.
Let's
solo Crota! But we've tried 100 times. Yeah, but now we've got swords! And while Reed's enthusiasm over the exotic swords was palpable, we made it about halfway through the raid before we stopped. I was burnt out. I can't remember all the reasons why, but I do know that my gut made me take this picture. What you are seeing now ended up being the last time we played Destiny 1. This was the final time we saw our characters. Reed and I stood in the tower, tranquility playing in the background, and while we came in like a lion, we went out like dandelion seeds tossed to the wind. We became the usernames that you would see on PSN that said last logged in 5 years ago underneath them. In short, we quit. Then I got kicked out of school and I was homeless for 2 years. Ain't that a segue? Hey yo, Scotty, beat me up to 2019. Yeah, that's more like it. Now that's a segue. It wasn't until the autumn of 2019, years after quitting, that Destiny 2 went free to play on Steam, and its expansion Shadowkeep came alongside it. And this is when everything started. The intro quest for Shadowkeep was a rather interesting one. You had to storm the Scarlet Citadel and make your way into the depths of the moon, where there lay a mysterious black pyramid, only to be met face to face with none other than a twisted nightmarish ghost of the Hive Prince Crota. Deep into the night, I messaged Reed, years after our last attempt. Hey, yeah? Let's go kill Crota. Smiling cheek to cheek, we came back stronger than ever, and the two of us vanquished the nightmare of Crota with our swords in all blues. Our quest, maybe not conventionally, had finally come to an end.
Dude, I got footsteps!
And this opened the floodgates for the rest of what the game had to offer. But I wasn't going to be able to conquer everything in Destiny 2 with just Reed and me. I needed an army, or rather, I needed more friends. So I made a clan, and I started to actually talk to people, and Reed and I rounded up a bunch of internet heathens who all loved Destiny. This was virtuous. In no particular order, I shall introduce to you the whimsical characters I made friends with during Shadowkeep. There was Chai, someone I'd known for a few years already but never really befriended.
Do 2 flips.
We would go into Crucible matches and all set our usernames to a link to his, at the time, Twitch channel, so that no one knew which one was him. There was someone named this. I still don't know how you're supposed to pronounce it, so we called him Cruise Ship instead. There was a girl named 11. She created me in The Sims once and made me choke the Grim Reaper himself to death with a grilled cheese sandwich. She once told me she was prescribed Adderall, but it wasn't strong enough. In other words, we would do about 20 to 40 strikes per day, but our favorite was the Scarlet Keep of Hashladoon. Who's Hashladoon? That's a great question. This is Hashladoon, the eldest daughter of Crota, princess of the Hive, granddaughter of the Taken King Oryx himself, the inundated and ascendant Hive Wizard, one of the last of the Hive royal family's line, a demigoddess, a meticulous constructor of the Hashladen!
Oh my god. Every time, dude.
There was Lucky, the one and only. Even James showed up from time to time. And there was this one guy named... Hold on, I got a bit planned for this. The name is Dawn. Just Dawn. Did you guys like that? Anyways, I made a clan called Anime Thighs Dude, and while I didn't want that to be the name, I typed it in for giggles, you know, jokes and all that. The name went through, and I couldn't change it, so we're stuck with that. Still. To this day. As time went along, the clan grew more and more until it reached the maximum amount of players possible. That's 100 people. That's more than how many will see this video. I was afraid of touching Destiny 2 because of all the memories that I had in Destiny 1. But the more friends that I made, and the more things that we overcame together, the more memories I made in Destiny 2 that were better and more vibrant than anything in Destiny 1. I have such vivid memories of grinding away at Strikes and Crucible, getting to level 100 on the Season of the Undying's Pass, which took a ton of time and effort, being one of the world's first level 100s for Season of Arrivals, having an everlasting hunt for the Nebula Rose shader, which you had to earn back then by opening a rare box and hoping to get lucky, which I did after 600 hours.
Nebula Rose. Give it to me. Give it to me, game. Come on. Oh my god!
Listening to the Chinese Bill Nye opening for 6 hours straight.
Anyone here jamming out to Bill Nye Chinese opening? I'm gonna say yeah. And I'm gonna say, oh wait, I asked that question. Oh, someone else is dancing with me!
Getting the Celestial Nighthawk, the one exotic helmet that I wanted, off of the season pass and yelling Charizard like I did all those years ago when I got the stag.
Oh my god, dude. Ah, finally got it.
Charizard! And so many other fun little adventures I went on with Eleven, Cruise Ship, Chai, Lucky, and Reed. It's safe to say that in Shadowkeep, I fell in love with the game in a way I hadn't really been able to before. I had more friends now, I had a clan, we did everything in the game together. In Destiny 1, I appreciated and loved the moments with Reed, Bailey, and James, but in 2019, I found us all spending so much more time together, since it was on PC now. I loved the exotic quests, the Nightfall challenges, obscure map-breaking glitches, and from time to time, I even popped off in Crucible, like with this clip.
Oh! What the f was that?
I still don't even know how I did that. Even the seasonal stuff was always poppin', like Season of the Dawn's Sundial activity and the Corridors of Time. The best part of Destiny to me proved to be its dungeons, which are bite-sized 3-man raids. They're difficult but not the end of the world. They're fun and rewarding, but best of all, you only need 3 people for them, and you can duo them or even solo them if you're patient enough. Heading into Beyond Light, if I was online, I was in Prophecy or Pit of Heresy, and this trend was not going to let up anytime soon. Speaking of Beyond Light, this was the best expansion thus far, in my opinion. Let me show you what went down when Stasis was added.
What?
Yo, let's go, Fireboy. You and me right here, right now. That's right. That's right. Okay, yeah, I'm out. I'm dead. Oh. Never mind. What the f is that? Yes, I still got him at the end. That was so good. Nice. No shot!
I loved Stasis so much. I loved finally seeing Europa, and I loved Aldrin's transformation into Crow. The story was great, the atmosphere was great, and the best part, everyone was online, ready to grind out whatever new dungeon or activity was added. You best believe that the Glassway was a cool strike too. It's quite special since Reed and I ran into a guy named Kicksum who 100% was a multiversal glitch that automatically made the strike S tier. Pause to read the tale of Kicksum. I managed to get into the top 1% of Mayhem players multiple seasons in a row, cementing Mayhem as my favorite PvP game mode. And while Trials of Osiris made a comeback in Shadowkeep and Beyond Light, they remade it to be more thorough and convivial, and I even had some fun in that too. Season of the Splicer was absolutely amazing in every way, aesthetically and gameplay wise, an all around masterpiece that absolutely slapped the king. Then Vault of Glass returned, and I conquered Atheon just like Rita and I had 10 years past. Then, after all that, we got the 30th anniversary event. Are you serious? Yallarhorn, Dares of Eternity, Zura's a horse girl who runs a cosmic game show? Come on, dude. And then we get Grasp of Avarice, a 3-man pirate raid?
Don't die.
It's fine.
That's got to be the best pirate I've ever seen. So it would seem.
Oh, wait! I have the buff! I have the... Oh! Yeah, I had the debuff because I had 1 engram! Oh. No!
This is everything to me.
Grasp of Avarice was the first time that we had done a dungeon the night it came out, and let me tell you, the hilarity and joviality of this wacky pirate raid was and still is second to none. All in all, Beyond Light was undoubtedly my favorite time spent in Destiny. It helped me fall more in love with dungeons specifically. Every week my friends and I would grind them out sometimes 4 or 5 times, just for the fun of it. Then go back to the tower and look over all the items that we got. I have so many screenshots of all the wacky incidents and funny moments that came out of of doing Prophecy, Pit of Heresy, Shattered Throne, and Grasp of Avarice, but mostly Prophecy. It is the pinnacle of pinnacle activities. I had even made a video during Beyond Light highlighting how much I appreciated the game and how well it creates nostalgia, where I, referencing the 2019 video, had said the following.
The thing with Destiny is that in terms of video games at least, I know I'm in the good old days. Bungie recaptured the ability to create those feelings. They kept what I thought would be so easily lost. So through and through, in the end, eventually the world will come to a halt and become stale once more. Certainly, it's how the march of time works after all. And in due time, I'm sure undoubtedly, Reed and me will stand in the tower side by side together for the last time. Last logged in 1 hour ago, 2 days ago, a week, 3 months. Last logged in 5 years ago. It's bound to happen one day. We'll shoot our last dreg, decrypt our last engram, take our last screenshots, and push each other off the tower for the final time. But to be frank, that day is not today. And now here is the place where memories are made. So today is what matters. Right?
Again saying that that day didn't matter, for it was the present that mattered, right? And I was right, but time goes on. While 11, Cruise Ship, and a few others hadn't reached out or been online for a while, I still had a good amount of friends and I was comfortable. I loved those 3-man activities so much, I think because I could see that people were moving away from the online world and moving away from Destiny. So in turn, I funneled all my attention and energy into maintaining the few friendships I had left, and tried to make them as strong as possible by inviting them to do the thing that we all love the most in Destiny. Dungeons. But I'm getting a bit ahead of myself. Witch Queen came out, yeah! And we anticipated each dungeon with bated breath. Duality wasn't too far up our tier list, but in Season of the Haunted we got Scythes, but then we got Spire of the Watcher.
In this town, there's the good, the bad, and the ad clear. Our hero of the West was challenged to a duel by the latter. I am dead!
You're all hat and no cattle, feller. You wouldn't make it a day in the Spire.
The Spire of the Watcher.
Did you guys like that? Anyways, and doing that on night 1 was one of the most fun experiences I've ever had in a video game. A cowboy raid that starts out in a western town with a tumbleweed and slowly turns into a climb up this massive tower where you really felt the scale and magnitude, then going down into its underworld to fight the final boss in a tense battle of attrition. It was amazing. I even got the exotic bow to drop twice in a row in the same week. I still can't believe that this happened. This type of RNG has to be studied. And I don't even use the bow because I use Trinity Ghoul. Did I mention that? I use Trinity Ghoul, by the way. While doing Spire of the Watcher, I would always whip out my signature harmonica.
That was the best thing I've ever done on the harmonica. Did you hear? So many goblins!
So many goblins!
So many goblins!
And from time to time, I would wear these wacky glasses that distorted my vision beyond recognition. You know, to spice it up a bit. We all had the best of times. Through Witch Queen, though, I started to notice that there were less and less people online in the clan, and less people were on Discord. But it never got to the point where I couldn't form a 3-person fire team and skank out in a dungeon. I told myself that while most of my friends and I weren't talking as much anymore, that in time we would again. That maybe one of them would reach out or something, and we'd find something to talk about or to do. Right? Right, guys? Anyways, Lightfall came out, and it was super fun. Season of the Deep is right up there alongside Season of the Splicer. We got fishing, deep dives, the story, but then we got Ghosts of the Deep, which felt like the finale of Dungeons. And for me,
It would be, but I didn't know it in the moment. Ghost of the Deep was amazing. Delving into these bleached depths submerged deep under the methane sea, and when you think there's no way we can go deeper, we go deeper until we reach the final boss and see that they're attempting to raise Oryx, the Taken King, from the dead. Mwah, chef's kiss. Ghost of the Deep was the most difficult and fun 3-man raid in a long time, and doing it on the first day again was unbelievably exhilarating. Anyways, I started to duo dungeons during Lightfall since whoever I was playing with that week and I couldn't ever seem to find a third, but it was okay, it was alright. Though throughout the year, slowly, I stopped even being able to find someone online or available or wanting to duo anything. When Crota's End was re-released, I asked Reed if he wanted to go duo Crota, like the good old days, but there wasn't an answer. Having a group of friends who played this game with me every weekend was something I had always wanted, and only really had a taste of it in Destiny 1. But above all else, I wanted to have a friend group who all shared a game in common that we could throw on and use as a backdrop to conversation and a catalyst for goofy times and inside jokes. So to have that, to actually have that, was so fulfilling. But time goes on. James is becoming a doctor and I haven't talked to him in 2 years. 11 and cruise ship logged out for the last time many years ago. Chai and me moved apart without really knowing it and haven't talked in a few years. Lucky quit social media entirely a while ago. And Reed is always busy or doing something else on his own, and it's impossible to spend any time with him. So nowadays, I'm alone. For the last year, that's what it's been, day in and day out, soloing what I can in a game meant to be experienced with others. By Lightfall, we had all shot our last dregs, took our last screenshots, and time moved on, but I remained. I never let go. I'm like that picture of Skips from Regular Show, you know the bit? I love this game. Through its high highs and its low lows, I have stuck with it and will continue to do so. The game spent so much time dedicating itself to me and showing me so much to appreciate that I'd only fallen more and more in love with it as the years went on. So when I was entirely without any social interaction for so long, I still tried and played the game. I started to solo everything I could and put on music or a video, and I hate to admit it, and it's sort of cringy, but I would even put on old streams of when all my friends and I would do stuff and pretend we were playing together again. I tried using the Fireteam Finder, and while it's a great system, it didn't feel the same, so I ran away. It goes outside of just a game. With no IRL friends, no connections, and my fiance in another country. The isolation that blanketed me was unbridled. Even the places I used to run away to were gone now. Everything moved on. I was given the final shape and the seasonal pass for free from Bungie, but with nobody to play it with, I didn't think I would ever get around to it. Everyone I had made friends with had grown apart. Nobody reached out to me, and I didn't reach out to anybody, and it dawned on me that I was the one who had reached out to everyone in the first place and asked if they wanted to play or not. So I worked up the courage to message those people after years of not seeing or hearing from them and asked them if they wanted to play or talk. But I think we all know what the two answers were every time. One of the messages that I shot into the void actually got a response in April of 2024. Whilst I tried to push these thoughts and realizations away, I got a message from 11 out of absolutely nowhere. The first time I talked to her since 2019. I look back at our time gaming together. She said, "You know what? Sometimes I find myself doing the same. My only thing I did, I had friends. I do miss having friends and playing games together. It's odd to take something like that for granted. At the time it seemed so small, but I suppose as time goes by, the days begin to layer. I was feeling nostalgic, so I'm gonna reinstall Destiny. I just want to go back. I want to go back too, yo." But then 11 never logged on again. The messages brought the feelings to the forefront though. It didn't depress me, but it made me acknowledge
how alone I really was, especially compared to 2014, compared to 2019. I'll be as open as I can get. Over the last year and a half, I've had nobody to talk to. My fiance was in Latvia for a year, so the time we did spend together was extremely scarce. Last year, I attempted to make a WoW series with someone I thought was a friend, but I won't get into the details, but he hurt me really bad. He betrayed my trust and destroyed any reason I had to trust someone. So, in turn, I had nobody. I started this routine of waking up and sitting around waiting until I was tired enough to try and sleep so I could get a bit closer to this feeling going away, but it wasn't going away. And it was all because I'm not good at keeping up with people, and I'm not good at making connections. I never was, especially outside of Discord, regardless of how deep our friendships were, and after what had happened, I was too scared to trust anyone again. You know how, at the beginning, I stated that behind a screen I had this unpalpable confidence? I thought I couldn't be hurt from the comfort of my home, but I was proven wrong. And now I didn't have any friends, and I did. I had a good bunch of nice and funny people who I loved the company of, who liked mine, but now life happens. Everyone has grown apart. They either got jobs or, on the rare contrary, ended up being fake or toxic, but most of us had grown up, and I hadn't. All that, coupled with the fear of letting others in after what had happened, pushed me away from pursuing any type of friendship. So in place of doing 3-man raids, custom 1v1s, Trials of Osiris, or King's Fall, I uninstalled Destiny without taking a picture this time, and subscribed to a new routine that overtook my day-to-day, and in turn, I left behind what I loved. 10 years after the launch of the game that brought me close to so many during its most climactic moments, I found myself furthest away from it. Every night, I go on a walk at 1 a.m. When the city's asleep, I find myself walking to the tune of train whistles and the orchestra of the far-off highway, alone. And to think, a decade ago, this was the late night hour I'd devote to playing games with my friends, but now, this is the late night hour where I walk from one place to another. I've done this for a while now. And it's 'cause when I'm all alone, locked up in my room, I feel stuck, anxious, and apathetic, so I run away. I guess that's what growing up is. Going from point A to point B, day in and day out, trying to run away from the heaviest feelings that we have. But with each step, I keep waiting for the sensation, for the loneliness to evaporate, but it doesn't. Even when I'm walking, I still feel stuck. I still feel anxious. I still feel alone. So I turn around and I go back. Like always, I retrace my steps, I wind back the clock, go back the way I came, and end up at square one. Still alone. Don't get it misconstrued. I don't necessarily miss the past, and I don't miss a video game. I miss the friends that I had who made those things special. I can attempt to run away, but it never works. When I get home, the dread crescendos, and I try to distract myself any way that I can. I try my very hardest to run away from the feeling, to go where I once vanquished it. Only to find usernames that haven't logged on in years, and the names of friends that I'll never see again. So, I run away from that, too. It's not that I was afraid of being alone. I was afraid of believing that someone wouldn't hurt me. I was afraid of trusting again, or giving time and energy into someone who won't give it back. So any mention, let alone any participation in the game where I had made and nurtured almost every friendship I ever had, it was horrifying. But running away wasn't helping anything. I decided, for better or for worse, to break the momentum and to instead run towards what made me feel loneliest. After not playing the game for half a year, I decided to give the final shape the shot that it deserved when it launched. The first time I'd be taking on an expansion solo. I wanted to, at the very least, give its main story a playthrough, and what I found was perfect. I finished the first mission and found myself at the tower from Destiny 1, terraformed and changed, vacant. In the story, you face off against the main antagonist of the last 10 years, this Grand Inquisitor upped on cosmic steroids, the Witness, inside the heart of the Traveler, battling determinism itself to demonstrate that when order is enforced, mankind will always eventually choose chaos, for in chaos, there's free will. Please read Dostoevsky. In other words, in this skirmish with determinism, we time and time again make our own fate. Much like in Vault of Glass all those years before, I was hooked narratively, and the actual gameplay of the expansion story was unreasonably fun. Like, don't get me wrong, the past 2 expansions have been extremely fun to play, but this was beyond any expectation I had. With Prismatic, I got Strand and Arc, and I'm like grappling from place to place, and then I do this Arc super where I'm like Minato Namikaze, and it's all like it's I like it. So while I was invested gameplay-wise and narratively, there was one line that stuck out in a cutscene that made me, for a lack of a better word, devoted to this game again, emotionally.
Life isn't about holding on forever. I mean, I was gone, mourned, at peace, and now I'm here. Opening old wounds, filling them with salt. Eventually, you have to let go.
Life isn't about holding on. Eventually, you have to let go. And at the climax of the tale, alongside 11 other guardians wielding the bow that I'd never be seen without, it's called Trinity Ghoul by the way, we flew to the heart of that dark monolith at the end of all things, to finish this 10-year saga on my own. I had conquered everything this universe had to throw my way, side by side with my fire team. Impossible challenges from Atheon to Oryx to Savathun and Nezarec. 100 of us went in, though only one remained. In a fierce battle, with Trinity Ghoul in hand, and the chaos of the cosmos encompassing me, I slew the Witness after a decade-long entropic dance across the cosmos, and sat overlooking the Traveler. Nobody makes my fate but me. By moving towards where I felt loneliness after a year of running away from that very feeling, I was ironically able to let go. I make my own decisions. I make my own fate. I make my own destiny. And I realized that while playing Destiny with friends is fun, it's not necessary. I recognized that every time I played this game with someone, I would ask if they'd want to do something, and no meant no. If my friend could only really play strikes, then I would do strikes, even though I don't want to do strikes. ever. If my friend didn't want to do Grasp of Avarice that week, we wouldn't do Grasp of Avarice that week, etc. You get the picture. But now I can do whatever I want, when I want. If I want to do Prophecy, there's nobody and nothing stopping me from doing it. In a way, I started to see that being alone was sort of liberating. I could be whatever I wanted behind that screen, and I never realized that maybe I could try to be someone who trusts myself. To be my own best friend, who treats myself to what I want, to be somebody I like. So that's just what I work towards. Vesper's host released, and I wanted to do it. So I made a group with 2 strangers, and we headed in there and absolutely demolished it. I loved every second spent in the new 3-man raid, going through the derelict Braytech station, conquering possibly the most difficult dungeon to date with stride. And then at the end, when we vanquished Atrax 1, I got the icebreaker to drop on my first run. After this, I started to help new players do their first dungeons, do Sherpa runs for Prophecy or Grasp of Avarice, you name it, to do what I wanted, when I wanted. And I learned to like myself a bit more through doing that. I've conquered the Witness, conquered Atrax, and I've conquered myself, and will conquer whatever else this universe puts me against. The past gets heavier and heavier the more memories pile onto it, but it can only weigh you down so long as you hold on. I looked back at all the times that I miss one final time, but as I've said before, memories exist as incentive to make more, right? Those aren't the days that matter anymore. You can't change the past, but you can always change what you do next. And while the game was extremely helpful in vanquishing this dreadful loneliness, time and time again, the one who really did it was me. And I gotta admit, I like that part about myself. So, thank you for this wonderful 10 years shared across a massive friend group that almost saw through to the end. And thank you for showing me that the way to subjugate loneliness is not to run away from reminders of how you feel, but to jump headfirst towards them, even if that thing is just a game. To conquer what you're most afraid of by jumping headfirst into it all, and do it with a smile on your face and with everything you've got. In the words of Dostoevsky, fling yourself straight into life without deliberation. Don't be afraid. The flood will bear you to the bank and set you safe on your feet again. Here's to the next decade, and to all the friends I may make along the way, and not to the ones who were lost. For today and what comes tomorrow is what matters, right?